10 o'clock and it's already 90 degrees.
Nothing as cooling as a genuine snowball straight from the streets of Baltimore. I recommend the egg custard.
And that is what I shall have.
Last chance to be part of the lucky few. Just one oh, thank you, sir. No penny, no show. Thought so. Beautiful ladies in beautiful bathing costumes.
Mr. Alexander, Katie isn't here.
Well, too bad for her.
Oh, please, it isn't like her to be late.
You've got 5 minutes, and then I start the show without the both of you. Beautiful ladies in beautiful bathing costumes. You try that again, and you'll get a matching set of black eyes. Not that I don't admire your initiative. Now get out of here. Beautiful ladies in beautiful bathing costumes.
You little ruffians! Away with you, or you won't live to regret it! Oi! Maybe I've had enough. Let me through, please, George. Constabulary. Excuse me. Excuse me, ladies. Excuse me.
Oh my God, Katie! What could have happened to her? Who could have done this to her?
Bloody hell.
Sirs, Dr. Grace was rather overwhelmed at the morgue, but I believe I found a suitable replacement. Julia.
I had the morning off, and I could think of no better way to escape this blistering heat than at the beach. As it seems to the inspector.
Margaret and the boys were to sisters. Seemed like a good idea at the time. This is Catherine Buchanan. She was found by Miss Elaine Lawson, fellow contestant in the Miss Purity competition.
Where's Miss Elaine Lawson now? She's recovering from a fainting spell from the Miss Purity tent. She's too unwell to speak to us yet.
Drowning is a definite possibility. This is unusual.
Lord. Is that an animal bite?
A rather large animal, it seems.
Could that be what killed her?
Dr. Grace would have to determine that.
Crabtree, get the body back to the morgue. Make this post-mortem Dr. Grace's highest priority. And round up the rest of the lads. Oh, and fetch my work suit as quick as you can.
Sir, will do.
I'll take my leave as well. Gentlemen?
Doctor, thank you.
Murdoch, Look, I think I saw something earlier. In the water.
What did you see?
I don't know. Something I've never seen before. It was a monster, a bloody sea monster, with a mouth large enough to do this.
Sir, perhaps you should get out of the sun.
I know how it sounds, Murdoch. But I saw what I saw. And what I saw killed this poor girl.
Hello, Emily.
Hello.
Oh, my goodness. It looks like the plague has struck.
It's this unrelenting heat wave.
every John Doe in the city is being sent here until they can be claimed. These deaths are just from the heat. This one died of dehydration, this one asphyxiation, and this bright spark rolled off his roof while sleeping. Fell 4 stories to his death.
That's terribly sad.
It is that. George, what are you dripping on my floor?
Oh, I'm sorry. This is a snowball from Baltimore, apparently. I didn't go to Baltimore to get this one. I purchased it at the beach. I don't think they travel very well.
Well, it was nice of you to think of me. Would you mind bringing her straight into the coal chamber for me?
Of course. Oh, cold air.
Likely the only cool place left in the city. May I have her name for the foot indexer?
Katie Buchanan. Everybody should be getting back to the beach. Has there been a corpse on this?
No, George.
Right, lads. We've got a lot of ground to cover. And the sooner the better. We don't want to miss out on any potential witnesses. That sign bug looks.
Well, sir, it's difficult to move quickly in this heat. In fact, may we proceed without our helmets today, sir?
No, Crabtree, you may not.
Sir, Reverend at St. James is allowing women to church without their hats. The men aren't even wearing their jackets.
Surely we, as public servants, can rise above the temperature, like I learnt to in Afghanistan.
Oh, Afghanistan.
You think this is hot? This is a bloody blizzard by comparison. Helmets on, jackets buttoned. Thank you. Oh, and lads, remember to ask about any possible sightings of a monster in the lake.
A lake monster, sir.
Yes, Crabtree, a lake monster. Well, carry on, constables.
Excuse me. Are you Mr. Mason Alexander?
Of Alexander Soaps, yes, sir.
I understand Miss Buchanan was in your charge.
Ah, yes, she was a competitor in our competition to find the new face of Alexander's Soap. Public appearances, advertisement campaigns, a suite of rooms at the Queen's Hotel for a year, and a grand prize of $100.
The Miss Purity competition.
Yes. A citywide search for a girl as pure as our soap. That Buchanan girl was a front runner. It's too bad. Great set of pins on that one.
When did you last see Miss Buchanan?
Yesterday. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a competition to run.
Where might I find Elaine Lawson?
Inside. She'll be the one crying her eyes out. Between you and me, those puffy eyes aren't doing her any favors.
It wasn't like Katie to be late. I went looking for her. Especially for the talent competition. She had the most beautiful singing voice. All I can do is juggle knives.
And you found her?
Yes, floating in the water. Some boys pulled her out, but it was too late.
Had Miss Buchanan been upset lately?
Well, of course. Katie's childhood sweetheart had left her for her best friend, Marie Nicholson, if you can believe it. Without a word of warning.
Indeed.
Katie and James were destined to be together. Marie's a horrid girl. I can't understand it myself.
When did you last see Miss Buchanan?
Yesterday, about 5 o'clock. Normally we all go back to the city together, but after the row Katie had with Marie, she wanted to stay a while longer. It was so hot I didn't think anything of it.
What was the row about?
I was too far away to hear. But it wasn't like Katie to quarrel.
And where might I find this Marie now?
It's James, I'm sure. James Bennett. He runs the snowball stand.
I see. Thank you, Miss Lawson.
Henry, any sign of life?
George. Excuse me, sir.
Captain Horatio Squires. How can I help the constabulary?
Do you know Catherine Buchanan?
The dead girl? I'd seen her around the beach the past few days.
Oh, when did you see her last?
I couldn't say. Why?
Captain Squires, have you seen anything strange this morning?
Strange? How do you mean?
George.
Have you seen a creature of any kind?
Creature?
Never mind, I'm sure you haven't.
Yes, I have. Out in the lake.
Are you quite sure?
George, surely you aren't taking this old codger seriously?
Old codger? I served in Her Majesty's Navy. I know a water monster when I see it. You mark my words. This beach isn't safe anymore.
There you go. Thank you.
You're sweating so much in this heat.
Mr. Bennett, is it? Detective William Murdoch, Toronto Constabulary. I understand that you knew Catherine Buchanan?
Yes, I knew her. I can't believe she's dead.
And you must be Marie Nicholson.
Do you know what happened to dear Katie? She was my best friend and absolutely heartbroken.
Miss Nicholson, I understand you and Miss Buchanan were arguing shortly before her death. What was discussed?
Oh, it's so silly now. She was wearing the same hair ribbon as I was and refused to change it.
Is that all that was discussed? Are you sure Mr. Bennett here didn't enter the conversation?
No, just the ribbon.
Miss Nicholson, I must insist that you be entirely truthful with me.
My dear, it's far too hot to be exerting yourself.
Excuse me, how embarrassing.
Are you quite recovered?
Detective, could you please give Marie a moment to rest?
Certainly. Mr. Bennett, I understand you were courting Miss Buchanan and only recently parted ways.
Entirely because of Katie's shameful behavior. She wanted to win the competition and was flirting with the judge to make that happen. Poor James just couldn't suffer any longer.
Marie.
That's him there. His name is Leslie.
Yes, I know. Leslie Garland. We're acquainted. Thank you.
Detective? I'm not quite sure where to put this, but the inspector is startling several beachgoers with a terrifying account of this alleged monster.
Has anyone corroborated his sighting?
Well, only one person definitively, the pet chap who lives in this house up here, Captain Squires, but he's, you know, he's a bit, well, he's old, sir.
You believe him to be an unreliable witness?
It was hard to say. Sir, can I ask you a personal question?
Yes?
Well, how is it that you don't feel the heat?
I assure you, George, I am quite uncomfortable.
Well, sir, it's just that I'm fairly soaked through with sweat here, and you've nary a hair out of place.
I believe in propriety, George, no matter the temperature. Mr. Garland.
Detective, you look somewhat overdressed. Not a social outing, I take it?
Mr. Garland, I understand that you are a judge in the Miss Purity competition.
That? Oh, yes, I suppose so.
And especially friendly with one of the competitors, Miss Catherine Buchanan.
Detective, all these girls are friendly with me. They all want to win, and I'm an impressionable sort.
Were you courting Miss Buchanan?
Honestly, I asked Sweet Katie to dinner, but she declined. She had no interest in me, despite my best efforts.
That's not what I've been told.
Perhaps not, but it's most certainly the truth.
And where were you last night?
A gentleman never tells. Ladies, where were we? Gorgeous.
Elaine Lawson is a competitor in the Miss Purity competition, but by all accounts, not likely to win. She herself admitted that Miss Buchanan is the favorite.
You think this Miss Lawson wanted to eliminate her competition?
Possibly. There's also Marie Nicholson. She was seen arguing with the victim shortly before her death. And there's Miss Buchanan's former beau as well.
Who is this Casanova?
James Bennett, though I'm hard-pressed to find any motive.
The same as this Mason Alexander fella. He wanted the dead girl to be the face of his soap.
Too soon to rule anyone out just yet.
Murdoch, you've not yet mentioned the most likely possibility. That the poor girl was killed by an aquatic devil, the likes of which we've never seen before.
Sir, I don't doubt that you saw something, but perhaps a trick of the light.
It was no trick. I know what I saw.
With all due respect, sir, what the whiskey saw.
It was ale, Murdoch. Who in their right mind would drink whiskey at the beach?
I've never seen a wound like it. It's a highly unusual marking.
Any theories, Doctor?
An animal, but I'm not sure what kind.
Was the bite wound the cause of death?
No, she drowned, but the water has washed away any blood evidence and inhibited my ability to tell whether the bite occurred pre or post-mortem.
So she could have been dragged underwater by an unknown creature.
An unknown creature?
There's been some discussion of a monster in Lake Ontario.
More than discussion, I saw it.
Indeed. Well, the size of the teeth does indicate she was bitten by something quite large. Though the lack of tissue damage surrounding the bite marks would imply minimal to no struggle.
Meaning she was dead before the bite wound was inflicted?
Not necessarily. She could have been unable to move due to the shock of being bitten.
Well, Murdoch?
There is someone down at the beach who could be useful.
This fella obviously guards his privacy.
Captain Squires?
The constabulary is back, and none too soon.
We understand you've seen a creature in the lake.
Many a time. And what with all these people on the beach, it's become a rather terrifying prospect.
What did yours look like?
Well, it was long, impossibly so.
With a tall head rising out of the water?
Yes, that's it, exactly.
And when did you last see...
But did you see a more serpent-like tail or a larger body?
Oh, well, it has both. A flatter body
With a long tail?
Yeah, like a sea snake.
Precisely.
How far from shore
Was it green,
this?
maybe?
Yes, or brown.
Yes.
Sir, if I may.
Well, go on then, Murdoch. Don't make me ask all the questions.
Mr. Squires, have you any evidence to support these sightings?
In fact, I do. But it's the best I could capture. She moves rather quickly for such a large creature.
This is it. Murdoch, this is exactly what I saw. What we both saw.
Sir, this photograph may have been manipulated.
But why would someone I've never met falsify a photograph of something I've already seen?
I don't know.
Murdoch. There's your proof. Now how do we stop that thing from killing again? Lads, you wouldn't believe it if you'd seen it yourselves. A great long creature, scales, sharp teeth, huge saucer-like eyes, red-rimmed and full of lust for blood. Crabtree, what do you know about this demon in the lake?
I'm not entirely convinced, sir.
You don't believe in sea monsters?
Well, obviously there are monsters in the sea, sir. That's why they call them sea monsters, but I've never heard of any lake monster. I just can't imagine anything so dastardly living in fresh water.
Crabtree, wait a minute. You're telling me that you believe in zombies, werewolves, vampires, Martians, Venusians, curses, voodoo ghosts, and apparently sea monsters. But a creature in Lake Ontario that both I and Detective Murdoch have witnessed is beyond the scope of your otherwise vivid imagination. You're telling me that?
Sir, I can't attest to what you witnessed. I'm afraid I remain a skeptic. Sir, here are the reference materials you requested.
Thank you, George.
What's all this then?
Well, sir, if the creature we saw in the lake is real, there must be some evolutionary explanation. I'm hoping the answer lies in these texts of known aquatic life.
And, sir, here's the reference material you requested.
Excellent. I've made a few notes. 1829, a hideous water snake seen near St. Catherine's. 1833, a 175-foot serpent near Kingston Harbour. 1842, a 30-foot-long brown snake with a large head. Kingston again. 1877, a bellowing monster leaps in the air and heads due north from Olcott, New York.
Sir, each one of those sightings describes your supposed monster quite differently.
And none of them is consistent with what you and I saw.
Then maybe we're dealing with more than one monster.
Or none at all.
Crabtree, I'm astonished at your total lack of enthusiasm. I would have thought you to be my staunchest ally in all this.
I'm sorry, sir, but the evidence simply does not support the claim.
Evidence? Are you saying there's more evidence of Martians than of lake monsters?
Yes, actually, documented for millennia.
I'll show you documentation. 1882. A serpent was seen in the waters near Fort York, described as 50 feet long and as wide as a man is round. Blue-grey in colour and covered in stiff bristles.
We were too far away to determine color, but that's the most accurate account yet.
Sir, perhaps what you saw was a very, very large fish.
It was not a fish.
Sirs, are we really pursuing the theory that Miss Buchanan was killed by some lake monster?
Yes, Crabtree, we are.
Sir.
We're keeping an open mind, George.
Sirs, I think it's far more likely that one of these Miss Purity contestants is involved. It's quite a prize, and women can be very competitive. My Aunt Marigold...
George, I need you to go down to the morgue and collect exact measurements of Miss Buchanan's bite wound.
Sir.
And Crabtree, do up that bloody tunic.
Sir.
Although it's possible that there may be a previously undiscovered species in Lake Ontario, naturally, I'm hesitant.
But given the size and shape as you've documented, surely you've considered that this creature may be a living descendant of the dinosaurs.
I don't dare believe it, Julia, as sorely tempted as I may be.
Ooh, clay and measurements. I dare say my afternoon could be rescheduled.
Seems consistent with your description of the creature.
Right. Now to compare it against all known freshwater species.
I wonder, what would you name your newfound dinosaur?
Julia,
A fine name. I like it.
I'd be careful to temper my expectations. The odds of us discovering an entirely new species are not in our favor.
William, it's much more fun to believe in the possibility than to be discouraged by the improbability.
Station house number 4.
Crutchy.
Just one moment, please.
If that's the missus telephoning from Grimsby, don't mention the lake monster. I don't want her watering down my scotch again.
We wouldn't want that, sir. Go ahead. At the beach, you say? Yes, we'll send someone right away.
Another sighting?
No, sir, a disturbance at the Miss Purity tent.
Oh.
Sir, perhaps I should look into this myself, as the detective is busy with other matters.
Good initiative, Crabtree. Crack on.
Mr. Alexander.
I am ruined. A girl dead, my tent burnt to the ground. What am I supposed to tell my shareholders? If I ever get a hold of that hussy, I swear I'm...
Which hussy are you talking about?
That wretched Marie Nicholson. As if I could ever let her win. You imagine that? Her Miss Purity?
Well, why would Miss Nicholson burn the tent down?
Well, who knows what goes on in the heads of these foolish young things? Ask that simpering mess. She seems to know all about it.
Excuse me, Miss Lawson. Do you know why Miss Nicholson would have done this?
Mr. Alexander disqualified her from the competition. He found out that she was with child. Can you imagine the nerve of her competing to be Miss Purity?
Who was the father?
James Bennett, of course.
Mr. Bennett?
Constable, what happened to the tent?
You didn't see?
No, I've been in town arranging for more ice. My fiancée was in there. Is she all right?
Miss Nicholson is the one who burned it down.
My goodness, why would she do that?
Because she was disqualified from the competition due to her current state.
I told Mr. Alexander that in confidence. I just wanted her to rest. It's not right for her to be up and about like that in this heat. It's not good for the baby.
Mr. Bennett, are you...
I must go and find Marie. Her condition is quite delicate.
If you don't mind me asking, why have you not yet married?
We postponed our marriage because of this wretched competition. Wedded women can't enter, of course. Now, if your curiosity is satisfied, Constable, I really must find her.
Can you let me know when you do?
Of course.
Before you go, could I get an egg custard? Just the custard, mine without the ice.
Help yourself.
Julia, I believe we may be looking at a descendant of the plesiosaur.
I believe you might be right.
It certainly looks like the creature that I saw, and at this point it may be our most likely conclusion.
William, this is so exciting. Shall I call the university?
Before we make our findings public, I should very much like to see the creature again.
I should very much like to see it as well. William, it is far too hot in the city to sleep. I think I may spend the night at the beach. And in the interest of science, I think you should join me.
And in the interest of your safety, I believe I must.
George, I'm sure your surprise will be lovely, but I really need to be let in. I've got numbers 36 and 37 out here with me. Thank you.
You can't bring your girl to the snowball stand. Bring a snowball to your girl.
It's so lovely, George. It's exactly the smile I needed. Would you like to share it with me?
Actually, I brought enough for two.
I assume you revisited the beach. How did you get on?
Some interesting developments, to be sure.
Indeed.
How to convince the detective that Miss Buchanan was killed by a person and not a lake monster.
I'm certain your investigative skills will win him over. You should tell him. Right away, George.
You're right.
Come along, William.
Is it that bad?
Quite the opposite. All that cycling's been to your benefit.
Perhaps we should stay on land.
Nonsense, William. We can see it just as well from the water as the beach. We can spot a plesiosaur from a mile away.
Not a mile. Given the moonlight, the direction of the wind, I would say approximately 50.
The water's lovely, William. What are you thinking? William. Something just brushed against my foot.
Oh. Julia?
It's gone. It must have been nothing. Something is touching me.
Julia.
No, William, there's definitely something under the water with us.
Stay right there. Your initial thoughts, Doctor?
I'm reluctant to speculate on the cause of Miss Nicholson's death. But the size of these bite marks do, at first glance, appear similar to those of Catherine Buchanan.
May I?
Please.
Not exactly a match.
Depending on the angle of entry, the movement of the body while the wounds were inflicted, and the deformation of skin and tissue underwater, no two bite marks would be the same.
Well then, Doctor, is it possible the two young women were bitten by the same creature?
Possible, yes, but not certain. If you'll please excuse me, I have yet another new arrival. I assure you, Detective, Miss Nicholson is my top priority.
Thank you, Doctor. I'll await your results. Catherine Buchanan drowned. She may have been held underwater by an unknown entity. Marie Nicholson suffered similar bite marks and may also have drowned.
Though the bite marks were different enough that there may be another explanation.
Yes. There are two monsters roving around the lake.
Or perhaps there was a more human motive at work here. Sir, I took the liberty of continuing on your initial investigation of the Miss Purity competitors.
Did you now?
Well, sir, you were otherwise occupied with this lake monster, and I...
Yes, George. What did you find out?
Sir, Miss Nicholson was ejected from the Purity competition because she was with child for James Bennett. Now, this would imply that their affair began sometime before Bennett parted ways with Miss Buchanan.
This is a waste of time. Let's get back to our monster in the lake, shall we?
George, the two girls didn't kill each other.
Sir, I'm not suggesting so. But Miss Nicholson ruined Mason Alexander's competition. I believe
He sought revenge.
What was his motive for killing the first girl?
That I don't know.
How do you explain the bite marks?
That I don't know.
Exactly. Let's flip the chalkboard back then, shall we?
Sir, the number of links between these two young women makes it difficult to altogether ignore George's line of investigation.
They were both at the beach. They were both bitten by a monster in the lake. How's that for a link?
If that were the only connection. But the two girls knew each other well. They were both competitors in the Miss Purity competition, and they were both involved with the same man.
Yet none of that answers the question. If it was murder, then who would want both these ladies dead and why?
It appears Miss Nicholson didn't drown.
She did not.
No. She died of exsanguination.
From the bite wounds.
Yes and no. If you look closely, you'll see an aberration. The bruising is indicative of a small hilt or handle. I've yet to confirm the weapon, but a knife would fit. Before she was bitten.
She was stabbed.
She had such a beautiful voice. All I can do is juggle knives. Dead? Marie is dead as well? Oh my God.
Miss Lawson, you wanted to win the Miss Purity competition at any cost.
What are you saying?
Where were you last night?
With Mr. Alexander. He promised me Miss Purity.
And he will corroborate this?
It was to be a secret, of course. I'm not very smart, and my family is poor. I don't have great prospects, Detective. I really need this job.
Miss Lawson, did you kill Catherine Buchanan and Marie Nicholson?
My goodness, no.
I'm afraid I'll have to confiscate these until I verify your story.
You can't take my knives. They're the only things of value I own.
You have much more to worry about than that, Miss Lawson. No trace of blood. Though they could have been cleaned, I'll have Dr. Grace do a full comparison with the wound.
That girl was afraid of her own shadow. I can't imagine her capable of murder. What about Alexander and his alibi?
I've sent Henry to get his statement. He and Miss Lawson will likely alibi each other. Sir, she didn't die from a bite. She was stabbed.
No monster?
Sadly, no. She was stabbed, and then the bite wound was created to divert our attention.
So if she wasn't killed by a monster, what caused the bite? He's buggered off.
Sir, have a look at this. Blood.
So that's our culprit.
So it would appear.
So we have a lake monster copycat on our hands.
And who better than our lake monster expert? But why set traps here? What is he guarding?
nobody's ever troubled so much hell. Why? All I wanted was a little peace. So many people, all hours, running all over my property, even sleeping on the beach. This is more than I could bear.
So you fabricated a monster. Makes perfect sense.
I thought it would scare everybody away.
Captain Squires, if that really was your plan, wouldn't the lake monster have sufficed? Why murder 2 innocent young girls?
Murder? Oh, no, you misunderstand.
Clearly.
That young lady, Miss Buchanan, I saw her place stones into her pockets and lay a garland of flowers around her neck, and she walked right into the lake.
She took her own life?
Well, I suppose so. I mean, I ran to help her, but I was too late.
So you dragged out her body and used your fake monster to bite her?
Yes, well, I seized the opportunity. A dead body would convince everybody the monster was real. I'm sorry.
And Miss Nicholson?
Well, I don't know anything about her. I swear on the good Queen's memory.
It was your trap that bit her.
Well, anyone could have taken my traps. Everyone knows they're there.
He is completely crackers. Tampering with the body just to scare people off the beach. He built a bloody lake monster, for heaven's sakes.
I'm sorry, sir. Trust me, I know how you feel.
Crabtree, I don't need you to comfort me.
Well, I'm just saying, sir, I've had my share of disappointments, but you know what? I never give up hope.
Thank you, Crabtree.
If you truly believe that lake monsters exist, I believe you will find our proof.
I said, thank you, Crabtree.
And isn't Toronto the perfect place? You've Lake Ontario right there, Lake Erie, Lake Huron within a day's travel. If you were to include rivers...
Hey, George, perhaps you should look in on Dr. Grace. We need to identify the weapon that killed Miss Nicholson as soon as possible.
Sir, right away. Chin up, Inspector. Chin up.
It does seem like Catherine Buchanan committed suicide. The white gown, stones in her pockets, romantic statement of a woman betrayed.
It's a plausible scenario and consistent with Captain Squire's statement. But how does a suicide relate to Marie Nicholson's murder?
It might not. The two may be unrelated.
Marie Nicholson had no trouble making enemies. The motive may be something that we've yet to uncover, which doesn't help to answer the question.
Who killed Marie Nicholson?
None of these knives matched Miss Nicholson's stab wound.
A different implement, then.
Yes, something thinner and cylindrical.
An ice pick, like the one used by the snowball vendor.
Sir, Mr. Bennett wouldn't have killed Miss Nicholson. Doing so would have meant killing his own unborn child.
Marie Nicholson wasn't with child, nor was there any indication she had ever been.
Oh, Mr. Bennett, we'd like a word about Marie Nicholson.
Katie was my everything. We knew it since we were children.
And Miss Nicholson?
Katie was visiting her family 2 months ago in St. Catharines. I was so lonely. Marie seduced me. I've never regretted anything more.
Then she informed you that she had become pregnant.
My heart was shattered. I had no choice but to marry her. And I couldn't tell Katie the truth. I couldn't bear to hurt her any more than I had to.
Yet she found out somehow.
Marie told her. Out of spite, I suppose, or to gloat. I didn't know any of this until...
Until?
The day after Katie took her own life, I received this in the mail.
Dearest James, I can't endure this life without you. I can't bear to see what could have been our child, born to another. I will love you forever. I forgive you.
But I couldn't blame Marie. I didn't want to distress her. This heat, Katie's death, it all seemed too much. I had to think of my child's welfare.
So you had her disqualified from the Miss Purity competition?
It was for the best. But Marie was livid. She told me she had never been pregnant. It was all a lie. And Katie killed herself over a lie.
So you killed Marie?
I didn't even know what I was doing. The ice pick was in my hand. I was blind with rage. I don't even remember stabbing her. I should feel remorse. But I don't. My only regret is that I won't be going to heaven. Because I know Katie is there.
It's a shame the snowball stand is closed.
I don't know, George. I think I prefer your version. It's nice to be outside again, especially now that the heat wave is over.
Did you find relatives for your John Does?
Some.
What will happen with the others?
The city will give each one of them a Christian burial. I may be the only one in attendance, but at least they won't be alone.
Well, perhaps I'll attend with you.
I would like that very much.
What the bloody hell? All you little buggers, bring back that bloody hat! Bollocks!
Oh my goodness, Emily. I've just destroyed somebody's hat. I think this is the inspector's hat.
Perhaps you should hide the evidence. George is positively flying.
Oh, look at that. Emily, I think I've just invented a new beach game. I could call it Flying Hat, or Flying Brim, Free Brim, Frizz Brim. Flying Hat.
You must be relieved, William.
I have to admit, I'm somewhat disappointed. I was quite enjoying our little research project. The thought of discovering a new species.
Oh, William, you'll find your dinosaur yet. I'm sure of it.
Julia, there are people everywhere.
How ridiculous it is that women should have to wear black woolen stockings in this heat.
You are being very scandalous, young lady.
Yes, I am. Aren't I?
Marshall Murdoch next Monday.
What? The real killer is over there.
Guest starring Alan Hocko.
That's Jacob Doyle.
You know him?
Every copper from here to Corner Brook knows this sleevine.
Murdoch Mysteries next Monday at 8 on CBC. Next.
I don't have a good feeling about this.
A young woman held captive in a basement.
6 years.
Stockholm Syndrome?
Possibly.
The young victim becomes a murder suspect.
I want to find out who did this.
An all-new Cracked next on CBC. Dragon's Den. All new episodes Wednesdays at 8 on CBC.